Remember, I need you to work with me. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel and welcome to another edition of Car Rants. Today we are going to talk about this unfortunate situation that happened the other day with my son. As you guys can tell by the title, he got the cops called on him. And I actually made a video about this months ago, where my son was threatened to have the cops called on him by the same particular type of person who we now like to call the Karens. That video, he was threatened to have the cops called on him. This time, he did, along with some of his friends. This is a huge lesson and learn situation. I don't know if I should back up or go forward, but let me get right into the story. So my son went to his friend's house for a sleepover for his birthday, for his friend's birthday this past weekend. And they, you know, had a good time or whatever. And so it was like I guess it was gonna be like a long weekend. He went over there, I think on a Friday or Saturday, and they were gonna come home Monday. They were gonna do certain things throughout the weekend or whatever. So let me see, this was, what's today? Today is Tuesday. So Sunday, I think this happened Sunday. So I'm working, right? And I get a call from my son, right? He was like, Mom, he's, you know, heavy breathing, slow talking. I'm like, what happened? He was like, you know, I didn't want to call you because I knew you were going to be mad. I'm like, what, Josiah? Are you okay? What's going on? And he was like, I don't know exactly what he said, but pretty much he said, we got the cops called on us. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, who's there? Is there a parent there? Is the cops there? What are you talking about? So he starts to, you know, tell me the story or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, are you okay? I end up talking to the cop, right? So pretty much what happened was, and it's a complete lesson all around within this story, but pretty much what happened was him and his friends went to these woods or whatever, and they were playing with these, I don't know what they're called. I guess they're called flat guns. I don't know. I'm probably saying it wrong, but they're pretty much like some fake, you know, guns or whatever that the kids were playing with in the woods. And I guess there was this little boy that they play on the same football team or whatever. I don't know if the little boy was talking mess or something happened. I don't know. But Josiah and his friends pretty much opened fire and was, you know, shooting at the boy. They were all shooting at him at once. And so, and then I guess, Halloween. Yeah, Halloween. So I guess there was a woman, a Karen, and the reason why I say Karen is because I wasn't there, obviously, so I don't know how she reacted, but from the parents, who I did talk to, one of the boys' parents, yes, honey. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. One of the boys' parents who I talked to, she labeled her as a Karen, so I'm assuming the woman, what I was told was, it was a woman who was watching, and she was all hysterical and frantic, and she's the one that called the police. And so I guess the police came and the boys started running. And so they got a hold of everybody or whatever, and the woman, she was all frantic and was, you know, saying all this stuff or whatever. And the boy who ended up getting hit with the fake guns, they were his grandfather, I think, came to the park, and his grandfather wasn't even the one that called the cops. It was the woman, a woman who was just watching. She wasn't related or anything. She was just happened to be in the park. And so you know, the cops talked to the boys or whatever, told them, you know, you should never run, and, you know, was really nice about it. According to my son's friend mom, she was like, the cops were really nice or whatever, you know, they didn't run after the boys or anything like that. They talked to them, they let them know, you know, you're not supposed to run from the police, it's illegal, and, you know, pretty much told them, you know, not to be playing with the guns like that, and that can hurt somebody and stuff like that. And I guess, you know, it's a thing with these toy guns that, you know, a lot of kids are playing with. So it wasn't like they were, you know, unusual activity or whatever. It's just the way they were playing when it came down to the boy that they were shooting at or whatever. And so I, after hearing the story from my son, and then I talked to the police on the phone, I got the phone back and well, the police gave the phone back to my son, and I told him, I said, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you. You need to come home. Because the crazy thing is, me and my mom had just had this conversation with him when, like, a couple days prior, because there was an issue at school between two other boys, and I guess one of the boys sent a picture of this toy gun or whatever. I mean, it's crazy. The whole point is, Josiah made bad decisions along with his friends. And we had just had a conversation about these toy guns and how they're perceived in the world when it comes down to people like my son, who is a black boy, okay? Let's just talk facts, right? We can't be out here doing certain things that other people have privileges of doing. And so we had just talked to him about this. Let me go ahead and drop my son off. Let me go ahead and drop my daughter off. I'm pulled up at her daycare, and I'll finish the story. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. So anyway, I tell my son, I'm coming to get you. I'm gonna get off work. I'm coming to get you. So I pulled up to the birthday boy's house, who everybody was sleeping up over at, right? And the mom was telling me what was going on. And again, to pretty much break it down short term, the kids were playing in the park with their little toy guns. They seen this other kid that go to school with them and who's on the football team, seen them. I don't know if words were exchanged. I don't know if the boy said something to Josiah and his friends, and that made them, you know, shoot the gun at him, right? And so the little boy, remember, I need you to work with me. So I don't know if the boy said something to them and it made them open fire, right? And so the boy, he had like some red bruises on him, like nothing like major, but you know, he had some red marks or whatever from the guns. So I guess the cops came out because of the lady that called the cops on the boys, and she also recorded and made a video. And so the grandfather of the boy came out, and they said he wasn't even upset. It was the Karen, right? So the cops were telling him, you know, you shouldn't run. You know, you can't go to jail for that. If the grandfather decides to press charges, you know, you guys can go to juvenile detention and all that good stuff, right? Well, not good stuff, but you know, all that stuff. And so they end up, you know, letting everybody go, and all the boys went back to the birthday boy's house, and that's where I picked up Josiah. So his mom telling me the story, Josiah's friend, when I picked him up and stuff. And then I, you know, get Josiah, and we're all talking in the car or whatever. So I'm telling him, you know, I had this whole conversation, me and my mom had this whole conversation with him. And we've had these conversations with my son, with him, plenty of times. And to be honest, it's quite, not upsetting, but it's very sad that we have to have these kind of conversations with a 13-year-old. But because of the world that we live in and the people that live in it, you know, us people of color have to have different kind of conversations versus other people. And that's just facts. That's just truth. And so we've had this conversation with my son in regards to how you need to act when it come down to you being in this world and you being outside and you especially being in front of a cop. You need to learn how to act, because the most important thing that we want to happen is for you to come home, right? And so I told him, first of all, you shouldn't have been doing that as far as shooting that gun like that to that little boy. I don't care what your friends were doing. I don't care. You need to learn how to be a leader and not a follower. And my son, he's very, I feel like sometimes he's very naive. You know, it's like we tell him that everybody's not nice in this world. You know, there are a lot of people that are not nice in this world. There are a lot of people that you feel that are your friends that are not true friends. And you need to learn how to tell the difference. And you also need to learn how to be a leader and not a follower. You know, and don't try to always do things to fit in with the crowd. And I sometimes feel like my son does that. And I tell him, you know, you can't do everything that everybody else do. You can't act the way that everybody else act. You need to learn how to make better decisions and choose for yourself and what works for you. If them kids wanted to shoot at that boy, that's on them. But you shouldn't have participated in that. And I said you wouldn't want people to do that to you. You've had embarrassing moments where you know, had a fight and, you know, was embarrassed in front of everybody. So why would you think that was okay to do that? I absolutely did not agree with him doing that. And I told him you were dead wrong for that. You should have never done that to that boy. And I don't care what your friends were doing. You shouldn't have participated in that action, right? My mom felt like, you know, he shouldn't have been playing with the gun at all, because, you know, how everything, you know, is going with everything that's going on in this world. And, you know, there are kids that have died, you know, from people thinking that the child had a real gun. I don't know the name or whatever, but I remember watching this story. I think it was a documentary, and this little boy died. I think he was in a park or so, because they thought he had a real gun, and it was a toy. And I want to say he was like 12. I think the story was in like Ohio or something. I don't know. But, you know, we've had this conversation with him. Although I feel like, being honest, and I told my mom this, I don't think it's fair. We have to be cautious, yes, but also I don't think it's fair that there are certain things that's very innocent, like playing with a toy gun, should be taken away or shunned from kids because of the stupidity that's going on. You can't simply play outside with certain things because other people are going to perceive it a different way. I don't think that's fair that the kids have to limit their fun because of stupid people. At the same time, I get the reason why, but it's like, you know, you have to stop having your fun because of stupid people in this world and how society works and what they think, you know, that you're allowed to play with for their comfort. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. We don't have, you know, him going outside playing with toy guns, but I didn't, you know, he's at his friend's house. I didn't know, you know, what they were, you know, having fun. I didn't know, you know, the details of what they were doing as far as like going outside. My only understanding was they were gonna go to like this jumping place or whatever. But again, it's a birthday weekend, you know. I'm sure the parent had a lot of different things planned, and they were just going outside. You know, I didn't have a problem with that. They were going outside, they were playing. I necessarily don't have a problem with him playing with a toy gun. I don't let him play with them outside. I don't buy it. I don't buy them for him to play with. But I don't mind if he's at a friend's house and they have guns and they play, you know, little squirt guns or whatever. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Because again, I'm not gonna sit here and completely limit my child to playing. I'm not gonna do that because of stupid people in this world. I'm not gonna limit you to having fun because people can't mind their business when it comes down to a child playing. I'm not gonna do that, right? So anyway, so that was one. I told him, you know, absolutely, that was wrong. You and your friends doing that to that boy, that was wrong. And the cop also said that, you know, they were going to tell the football coach and pretty much, you know, give them some extra work to do in practice and stuff like that. The police was really nice, according to the mom, and even Josiah. When I talked to the police, he was nice about it. And he even said that my son was probably one of the only ones that was respectful. He was quiet. He was answering any questions that he was supposed to. He said some of the other kids act like they didn't care, but my son was very respectful. He listened. He, you know, answered any questions that the cop had or whatever. And so, because we tell my son, like, you know, if it ever happens where you are approached, you need to listen. Don't back talk. Don't do any of that, because again, your job is to come home safe, even if and alive. Even if whatever the cop may be saying is stupid, it's inaccurate, it's wrong, whatever the case may be, do what you need to do in that moment, and let me handle whatever I need to handle outside of that moment. And so that's what he did. And so the cop was really nice. He explained to them, you know, this is what you shouldn't have done. This is what you don't do. This is what could have happened if you know, this could have been any other kind of situation. And so I appreciate the cop being nice enough to explain it to them and not being one of those cops. And I absolutely told my son, you need to be thankful. His birthday is in the next, what, 2 or 3 days? I said, something could have seriously happened to you. God forbid, I'm glad it didn't. But something could have happened to you before your 14th birthday. Like, come on. And I said, you need to be very grateful, and you need to be very thankful to God that this situation wasn't like what we see on the news. Because we all know and see and hear what's going on in the news with our little black boys and black men. And so I'm like, you know, you have to be very thankful that it didn't end up like this. And I'm very thankful that it did not end up like that. And the guy, the little boy didn't press any charges. The grandfather or whatever, or the family didn't press any charges. And so I'm like, you know, you got to be very thankful. This could have been different. You could have been in a juvenile detention, all kind of fees I have to pay. And then, you know, I don't have money for all of that. I don't have a stash for y'all in case something happens to go to jail. Like, who saves for that? You know what I'm saying? Now, as far as the running, I told him, and I expressed this to my mom as well. I understood why he ran, and let me tell you why. Now that he knows not to, but in the very beginning, my son never had an encounter with a cop. My son never had an encounter where he had to, you know, be arrested or anything like that. He didn't have an encounter like that, ever. So, with everything that's going on in this world, everything that he hears, everything that we teach him, when you see a cop, and they're coming after you, whatever the case may be, you get scared. Now, when I first talked to him, I'm thinking cops came running after them and that's what made them run. But from my understanding of what Josiah told me, his friends started running because they seen the cops. It seemed like, in my mind, and what was described was the cops came, they wasn't running after the boys. It was the boys visually seeing a cop and they ran. I understand the intimidation because of everything that's going on. You see a cop, you don't know what's about to happen. But at the same time, you have to be smart in that situation, because by you running, that could have caused a situation. That could have caused them to think otherwise. And so my son, being naive, he said, oh, well, I see my friends running, so I decided to run. No. You don't do that. Although, again, I can understand with everything that's going on in this world with our black men and our black boys, when you see a cop, you don't know what's about to happen. Even if you are innocent, and a lot of times it'd be a lot of innocent men that still have things happen to them, right? Whether you are abiding by the cop rules and what they're asking you to do, sometimes the situation ends up different. That's just facts. And so it's a 50-50. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's about to happen. But also, I try to tell my son, you don't want to provoke or put any question in that cop's mind to think that something is about to happen either. Because it only takes one thing for them to say something and give reasonable cause to do something to you. You don't want to give them that reason. I do not teach my son to be scared of cops. I do not teach my son to be afraid. I teach my son that you have a right to be here just as much as anybody else in this world, and just as much as any other color in this world. You have a right to be here. You don't need to be scared of them. And I also teach him that every white cop is not bad. You just have to be smart. You have to have the knowledge to understand and know how to work in these situations. And I know my son is about to be 14, but it's unfortunate that at the age of 14, we have to teach them like they're 30. There's no reason that a 14-year-old has to deal with these type of things. But you gotta teach them early because of everything that's going on with this world. So I told him I understood why Well, before I found out that he just pretty much did what his friends did, I told him, I understand if you were scared, but he wasn't even scared. It was just because his friends ran, he ran. I'm like, you need to think for yourself, because they did say it was 2 other boys that didn't run. So it lets me know that it wasn't one of those situations where you see the cops running and then the boy, no, it was like you made a dumb decision because you see everybody else doing it, you start running. No, if the cops wasn't running after you, why are you just gonna start running? That's giving them probable cause. Like, you can't do that. So it was a mess. I told him, you need to stop hanging around, you know, them boys. You know, it's just too many issues. My son is a good kid. I'm not saying that he is perfect, but I know my son, he doesn't cause issues. However, he makes dumb decisions because he wants to fit in. And I tell him, you can't do that. You need to, whether that means that you can't have as many friends as you want, if that means you can't hang around certain people that you want, it is what it is. But you have to start making better decisions and make better choices of who friendships you're going to have. And it seemed like some of these boys that you've been hanging around with, it ain't it. And you need to choose better friends. So it was a whole lesson learned. He wasn't nervous or scared. It was just a new experience for him. And it sounded like within this situation, which is, again, is a blessing, it wasn't one of those situations we see on TV again. The cops were calm. The cops was not chasing after them. It was them making dumb decisions. And I fully, I have my son taking the responsibility of his actions. And I'm assuming the other children and parents have their kids taking responsibility of their actions. I don't know if the woman who was labeled as a Karen went out of, you know, bounds or took things out of proportion, because again, from my understanding, the grandfather and the little boy, they wasn't upset like that. They didn't press no charges. It was just 2, you know, all the boys are on the same football team. They go to the same school. I guess it was some trash talking, and that's what happened. It didn't seem like it was like a bullying, gang up type of thing. So I don't know if the lady blew it out of proportion. Again, from my understanding, the parent that was there, she called her a Karen, and by her explanation, it sounded like the lady took it way out of proportion. So I don't know, but it was a lesson learned, and it's just, it was crazy. But that is what ended up happening. And you know, I hope my son has learned from this and understands what he can and cannot do in this world. And it's unfortunate because he should be able to do, I don't want to say do anything, but he should be able to do regular things and not be penalized because of the color of his skin. And what I mean by that is, you should be able to play with a toy gun, right? How they were playing with it was incorrect. Absolutely, I agree, it was incorrect. But there's also a message in here where it's like, well, you know, if they weren't playing with the guns, but it's like, why? It's a toy gun because he's black, because it could look like a real gun. He's a kid. He should be able to play with a toy gun, a squirt gun, or whatever, a laser gun, or whatever outside with his friends. Play with it appropriately, of course, but should be able to do that, you know? So, I don't know. It's an unfortunate situation, and I hate that it happened, but I also hope that my son has learned from this experience. Everything is a learning lesson in this life, and I just hope that he learned from all of this, and that he make better decisions, because I'm not having that. We're not having, my son is coming home every day. My son is going to be safe every day, and I'm going to make sure that my son abide by the rules and the law and what he needs to do. Okay, because we're not having this. We're not having this. Okay. Anyway, I hope you guys appreciate my car rant for today. And let me know if you guys like these. Let me know, you know, if you guys like these little rants that I have, these little morning rants. And if you have some topics that you want me to talk about, that you want my opinion about, and you know, I can rant about it, you know, then let me know. But other than that, I appreciate you guys, and I thank all the new subscribers and all the love that you guys have been showing me. And I guess until our next car rant, I'll catch you guys later.